Hello and welcome to Radicals 3.1, Simplifying Nth Roots. Okay, so thankfully we're done with checking answers. Well, I mean, you still should check answers, but it's not going to be mandatory as part of your process that you have to do to earn full credit on the problem. Okay, I mean, so you still should check answers, but like I said, it's not going to be mandatory where you're going to lose points if you don't do it. Okay, so we're just going to be simplifying radicals. And if you're wondering, why are we starting off on problem 3? Well, 1 and 2 are kind of like concept questions where they show you some kind of some kind of information. You just answer a question based on a pattern you see. So I'm not going to do those problems in the video. So I'm just going to jump to our first problem that's actually doing some work that's going to be just like your homework. And the big difference is we're not going to be dealing with square roots this time. We're dealing with sixth roots. Yeah, like you see that number 6 that's inside that little tiny space inside the radical, inside that little check mark space. Okay, that's going to cause something different to happen. But as far as what we're going to do to set up the problem, it's going to look very similar to what we did last quarter, except when I start doing my circling thing, that's where it's going to be a little different. Okay, so let's break apart 384 using factor tree. And we're going to break it up into the smallest pieces possible. So 384 is known as 2 times 192. And I'm going to keep track of my prime numbers that cannot be broken up anymore. And 192, I'm going to break that into 2 and 96. And 96, I'm going to break it up into 8 and 12. And 8, we're going to call 2 times 2 times 2, and 12 we're going to call 2 times 2 times 3. And I'm going to circle all these numbers right here because they're all my prime numbers, and they're a lot. Okay, so we're going to make a huge, giant radical symbol, and we're going to put a 6 in there because that's what our problem says. And then we're going to write all these prime numbers in this symbol. So how many 2's do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 2's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2's, and 1 3. Okay, so here's the meaning of the 6. Okay, normally when I circle numbers, I look for pairs that match. Okay, and that's because if you think about a square root is this by default. If I don't see a number inside this tiny little space, it's assumed there's a 2 in there. And that 2 tells me how many numbers need to match if I want to circle it and if I want to bring it on the outside. Okay, so now that I have a 6 in that little check mark space, I need to find 6 numbers that match for me to circle so that if they want to go outside, I need to find 6 of them. So I luckily have 6 2's. Do I have another 6 2's? No, I only have one more 2, so I can't circle that one. Do I have 6 3's? No, I only have 1 3. So what's going to happen here is your 2 is going to go on the outside, and your 2 and 3, since they didn't get circled, you're going to put them back together again like Humpty Dumpty, and you're going to get a 6. And there's your answer. Okay, so as far as what it looks like in terms of what we did in the past, it looks very similar to what we did in the past. The only difference is you got bigger numbers and you got to circle more things based on your number inside that little check mark. Okay, so that's it for the first one. So let's go to our next one. So we got the 5th root radical of 224. So let's break apart that 224. So 224 is known as 2 and 112. And let's keep track of our prime numbers. And 112 is known as 2 and 56. Let's keep track of our prime numbers. And 56 is known as 7 and 8. And 8, it's a number we've come across a lot of when I did factor tree, and 8 is known as 2, 2, 2. Okay, so let's draw a gigantic radical symbol. Let's put a 5 in there this time. All right, and let's write our numbers inside. So how many 2's do I have? I got 5 2's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and I got 1 7. So I'm going to get my red pen out, and this time, am I going to look for 6 numbers that match? No, I'm going to look for 5 numbers that match. And the reason why it's different is because I have a 5. This is a 5th root radical. So I'm going to look for 5 numbers that match. So I see 5 2s that match. Do I see 5 7s? Nope, I don't. Okay, so when I write my answer, I'm going to write 2, and then 5th root radical of 7. Okay, so I kind of wrote it how I don't want you to write it. Okay, so you see that 5 right there? Okay, actually, I should write it a little more obvious. Yeah, because when I have students that write this wrong, they don't know that they're writing it in a way that looks very deceiving. Okay, that looks a little better, right? So now you're going to look at this, you're going to be like, whoa, does this say 2 to the 5th power, square root 7? Or does this say 2 5th root radical of 7? What does this say? Yeah. And here's where, when I look at it as an answer, I get confused because I don't know if the student knows what's going on, right? Did they bring out 5 2s? Or did they bring out 1 2 and that 5 belongs inside that little space? Yeah. So here's what I want you to do when you write your answer. I want you to put it beyond a doubt. Make that little check mark go all the way up. So there's no doubt that the 2 is just a 2 and this 5 belongs to your radical symbol. So if you look at problem number 3, I did just that. I made that little check mark place. I made that check mark really tall where there's no doubt that this 2 is separate from the 6. Okay? So if you can remember to do that, that's fine. If you can't, then just understand that if I misinterpret what your answer is saying, then I might mark you wrong. And you can complain, but I'll just say, well, I warned you on the video that this is sometimes what happens, and yeah, that's just how it's going to happen. Okay, so please make sure you don't do this. Okay, so let's look at number 5. All right, so we got 3rd root radical of negative 216 x to the 5th power. Okay, so you see this negative sign inside this radical symbol, and you're automatically thinking, oh, this is going to be an imaginary number. No. Okay, this is not an imaginary number situation. All right, imaginary numbers happen when your radical is a even numbered radical. That's when imaginary numbers happen. This is an odd root radical. Okay, so because I have an odd root radical, my answer, my final answer is just going to be negative. Okay, if this was an even root radical, then yes, I would have an imaginary number. But we're not going to put any of those kind of problems in this lesson. We're going to save that for another day or another class. Okay, so just understand that this is an odd, because 3 is an odd number. This is an odd root radical, so it's going to end up with a negative answer. And I'll show you guys why it's a negative answer in the end. Okay, but I'm just going to tell you that odd root radicals, if there's a negative sign inside that square root, inside that radical symbol rather, it's going to be a negative final answer. Okay, so let's break apart 216 first. All right, so let's break apart 216, and we get 2 and 108. Okay, and 108, what is that going to be? 9 and 12? Oops, I didn't write my little line. Sorry about that. 9 and 12. And 9 becomes 3 and 3. And 12 becomes 2, 2, 3. Okay, so let's write my ginormous radical symbol. Let's put a 3 in there. Okay, and here's why it's going to become a negative answer. So here's what you want to do. So when you break apart the negative, yeah, you want to put the same amount of negatives as your radical that you have, or your root that you have. So since this is a 3rd root radical, you put 3 negatives, because negative, negative, negative is still a negative answer. And I put 3 because I'm going to circle 3 negative signs, and when I circle 3 negative signs, it's going to jump out as a negative answer. And that's why your final answer is going to be negative. Okay. All right, so next we're going to write all my tiny numbers that I broke apart 216. So I got how many 2s? I got 3 2s, and I got 3 3s. And this time around, I got some x's. I got 5 x's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. So let's get my red pen out. Let's circle 3 matches, 3 things that match. So negative sign matches, 2's match, 3's match. I got x's that also match. And can I do one more set of x's? No, I only got 2, so I can't circle them. But a lot of things jumped outside. So I got a negative sign that jumped outside. I got a 2 and a 3 that jumped outside. That makes 6. I got an x that jumped outside. And what did I leave behind? So make my line big like this so the 3 does not get confused with the x. And then I got x squared left inside. And there's your answer. Okay, all right, next problem. Okay, so we've got 4th root radical of 405 x to the 9th power. So let's break apart 405. So let's actually do this on the side because I kind of have some more space. So 405, let's do factor tree. So that's going to be 5 and 81. 81. And 81 is going to be 9 and 9. And your 9 and 9 turn into 3 and 3. Okay, so now let's make our ginormous radical symbol. And let's put everything inside there. So I got 4 3's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5, and 9 x's. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and now I'm going to get my red pen out and I'm going to circle 4 things that match. So I got 4 3's. Not going to circle the 5. I'm going to circle 4 x's. I'm going to circle another set of 4 x's. And here's where you got to be real careful. When students make a mistake from this point on, they miss things that are not circled. Because there's so much stuff happening inside this radical symbol, they lose track of stuff. Okay, so what jumps outside? 3 jumps outside. X squared jumps outside. I got a 4th root radical of 5x. So make sure you keep track of everything that is not circled because it's real easy to miss. I'm telling you this much already. It's super easy to miss. And when you miss it, you're going to be all sick because you're going to be like, I knew it. I had the answer on my paper. I just had to write it correctly, and you're going to get all sick. Okay, so be careful, please. Okay, number 7. Okay, so let's break apart 320. So 320 is known as, let's see, 10 and 32. And 10 is known as 2 and 5. And 32, that's one of those numbers that I kind of know really well. So 32 is the result of 5 2's all multiplied together. Okay, all right, so let's make my big radical symbol. Let's put my 6 inside that little space. And let's see, how many 2's? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 2's. And 1 5. 6 x's. And 7 y's. Wow. Okay, and I'm going to get my red pen out and I'm going to circle 6 things that match. So I got 6 2's. I don't have 6 5's, so I'm not going to touch that. I got 6 x's, so I circle that. And I got 6 y's. Well, I have 7, but I'm only going to circle 6 of them. Okay, so what do I have left? So what's going to jump outside? So 2 jumps outside, x jumps outside, y jumps outside. This is a 6th root radical of, what's left? 5y. And there's your answer. Okay. Alrighty, next problem. Okay, 256. So let's break that up. Let's see. Oh, change the color. Forgot to change it to purple. Okay, so 256. I'm pretty sure that's a perfect square. And that is 16 and 16. And I know 16 and 16, those are the result of 4 2's all stuck together. So 2, 2, 2, 2. That makes 16. And the other 16, same thing. 2, 2, 2, 2. Sounds like that commercial for the taxi company. Okay, all right, so let's make one ginormous radical symbol. And what is my number on the inside? A 5. So since it's a negative, I'm going to put 5 negatives this time. Last time I put 3. This time I put 5 because I'm going to have to circle 5 things that match. Okay, so I got 8 2's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I got 7 x's. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I got 5 y's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's get my red pen out and let's circle things that match. So I got 5 negative signs, so I circle that. I got 5 2's. Well, I got more than 5 2's, but I'm going to only circle 5 of them. I'm going to leave 3 out. Yeah. And I'm going to circle 5 x's. And I'm going to circle 5 y's. So like I said earlier, this is where you really got to be careful. A lot of students, when they make a mistake, they lose track of what is not circled. Okay, so please be careful. Okay, so negative jumps outside, 2 jumps outside, x and y also jump outside. And this is a 5th root radical of what's left. So 2, 2, 2 is 8. X is x squared. And there's no y's. So this is my final answer. Okay. All right. Home stretch. Last 2 problems. Okay, well, we're breaking apart 405 again. We just did that in problem number 6. So I'm not going to do factor tree of 405 because I already did the factor tree of that number. We did it in problem number 6. So I'm just going to go straight to the ginormous radical symbol. Okay? And I know 405 is the result of 4 3's and a 5. That's 405. And like I said, I'm not doing factor tree this time because we did it in problem 6 already. Okay, so 5 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 y's, 1, 2, 3, 4. And whoa, 7 z's. And for those of you guys that have messy handwriting like me, be careful with your z's because sometimes your z's look like 2's. That's why I put that little line in the middle because my z's and my 2's, they sometimes look alike. So yeah, I put that line down the center so that it doesn't confuse people. Okay, so let's look for 4 things that match. I got 4 3's. I got 4 x's. I got 4 y's. And I got 4 z's. Okay, so let's write my final answer. So I got 3 x, y, z, and this is a 4th root radical of, whoa, lots of things I didn't circle. So 5 and x and z to the 3rd. And there you go. That's problem number 9. Okay, last problem of the lesson. All right, so 750. Okay, we didn't factor that one yet. So let's do factor tree of 750. So 750, that's 10 and 75. Okay, and 10 is known as 2 and 5. And 75, that is known as 3 and 25. And 25 is known as 5 and 5. Okay, so the more you do factor tree, the faster you'll get because you know the numbers that keep on coming up, and when you start breaking them into pieces, you won't have to actually, you can do a lot more at the same time, right? Like normally I would just write 75 is 355 because I know what it is, but I wanted to show you guys the progression. So therefore I put it as 3 and 25, and 25 is 5 and 5. But eventually, like I said, you're going to get better with your numbers, and you're going to be able to break things up in your head a lot easier. Okay? And if it never happens, then don't worry. Yeah? Some will happen, some won't. Okay? And if it doesn't happen for you, then don't worry. Yeah? Eventually it will, if you keep on practicing. Okay, so let's write my numbers. So 2 and 3 and 5, 5, 5. And then x's, I got 2 of them. Y's, I got 4 of them. And z, I got 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let's get my red pen out. Let's circle 3 things that match. So I got 3 5s. I got 3 Y's. I got 3 Z's. I got another 3 Z's. And I think that's it. So let's go back to purple. And let's see, what do I put on the outside? I put a 5, I put a Y, I put a Z squared. And this is a third root radical of what's left? 2 and 3, that makes 6. X and X, that's X squared. I got a single Y, and I got 2 Z's. Okay, so there's my answer. Alrighty. Okay, I hope this made sense. Alright, I kind of tried to teach it to you the same way I taught you how to deal with radicals last a couple of lessons back, maybe like 10 lessons ago. So hopefully that kind of familiarity makes it easy to transition to this one, right? Because we're basically doing the same thing with bigger numbers and more things to circle, okay? So hopefully you can make that connection pretty easily, all right? But I wish you the best of luck, and yeah, I will see you in class. Bye-bye.